Welcome to the channel. Just got back from seeing Evil Dead Burn. Uh, I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler free as I can. Some of it kind of might lean into that, but I'm going to try and keep as vague as I possibly can. This is actually a direct sequel to Evil Dead Rise, so we do have continuity here. I do like it better than Evil Dead Rise, but at the same time, it still has similar issues for me, like Evil Dead Rise had. But there is some pretty good points. I do like the grandma. Grandma's money. Grandma's some comic relief, and she's actually quite believable. So. That is another thing that I do like about this film is that there's actually believable characters. The cowardly young rider cat that we got in the film, that's especially in modern times, that's pretty believable. The conditions in which the main character has its progression plot points, that's also fairly believable, especially in our current states. Um, there's a moment in there that they add a deadite dog, and I think that is actually something that's long overdue, so I did like that. The score and the cinematography, all good. Art direction, the ominous, all of that, the soundtrack, the movie looks good. Um, from where I saw it, sounded good. I could definitely say that I could have seen it at a better theater. So, I mean, for what I saw, I thought that the color palette was decent. But that's kind of like where that stops. Like Evil Dead Rise, I feel like there is a ton of detail issues that kind of really kind of just bug me because I have a real problem with plot holes and just plot continuity just not stringing together. Like we know that, or at least what I remember, because I only saw Evil Dead Rise one time in theater, and I actually got so irritated with the film that I never saw it again. Um, and that takes place in LA, I think. Or at least I remember taking place in LA. And it ends with a trip to a lake. And then this film kicks off at a lake. And so it really hits the nos straight out the gate and has that moment of, hey, we're hitting it, let's go. Um, but there's kind of an issue with that because you start out with these dudes that look like they're crabbing or uh they're, you know, they're fishing and you get this really cool, lady of the lake moment and then there all of a sudden there's a lobster. I mean, is it Maine? How do we go from LA to Maine? That doesn't make any sense. Um, you then kind of hit to where you're at this birthday party and it's this club scene. It starts out, you get a nice screenshot of some twerk and it's got this whole club thing going on. You're kind of finding the dynamics of the main characters and being introduced to them. And they're at this club celebrating dude's birthday, but it's not a club. It winds up actually being that it's the dude's restaurant. Like, all right, well, okay, well, it is birthday party. Maybe he's running a private birthday thing, whatever. But you kind of get the gist that this is in the city, but then all of a sudden we're off to Nowheresville and we're out in boonies, and that's where the lake transition and all that kind of gets into it. Um, Kind of a weird transition, because it was the same weird transition with Rise with the from city to lake. Uh, didn't really sit with me. Um, so then you get to the next portion in which you meet the supporting cast, which winds up being the family. And if you've seen any basic plot points to this film, you know that there's a death that puts them into this funeral home, bringing them all together. But it just happens to be that there's construction happening at this funeral home, and it's fucking weird. Um, Not only is that fucking weird, but this motherfucker owns a restaurant and is having this gigantic shindig of a birthday party, but yet nobody shows up to this dude's funeral. Well, that's strange. Um, but whatever. Uh, and this dude, the theme is burn, but so dude's turned into a briquette, and they're having a casket funeral. Again, that don't make sense. Then we go back to the crematory portion of it, and dude's about to cremate the casket. Fuck. Wait, why would you cremate? Why? That doesn't make any sense. There's no fucking reason for the cremation of the casket. That's fucking dumb. Um, so again, let's kick off. Let's get this is where the passing of like the infection comes. And this is also another weird like plot point for me that, will eventually circle back, but all of a sudden there's a slurry base dude's juiced all over the place, but then all of a sudden, boom, we're out of the funeral home and in the car, and dude's infected, but we're leaving the funeral home, and hell, we get this wide shot where we see this like we are going into the middle of nowhere, and you can see that it's kind of pointing out that this is like isolation. This is the cabin out in the middle of the woods, and it's definitely like this Maine, maybe Oregon, possibly. I don't know. Um, I guess that would be a little bit more connected to the California bit. It's, somebody went all the way up the coast, but I don't know if you're doing any type of, you know, lobster catching, and maybe, I don't know. I think that's the main thing. I'm just gonna go with that. Anyhow, so you get to this property, uh, and it's gonna kick off. It's not going to really hit the brakes, because I mean this film kind of keeps the adrenaline rolling and keeps that ominous thing going. Um, Dude ends up down in the basement, you know, kind of doing his deadite thing, and I don't know why chicks all of a sudden, going down to the damn basement carrying a fucking thing of cups and glasses. That doesn't make very much sense, but whatever. So there's a little bit of a transition issue again. Kind of kicks off with a few more transitional issues. Kind of, the cowardly dude kind of keeps showing these like, hey, I'm big sissy, but we know how that kind of goes. Um, and then it's like it kicks off with a couple of these moments of deadite where there's this pretty cool like expression of hey, you guys are really fucked because look what I can do. And dude does some mutilation, self-mutilation that kind of lets you know that it's like really there is no stopping this. This is just like the original films. Bodily dismemberment is the only way to kind of put an end to this, or burn it down to absolute nothing, because you're not actually you're dealing with a possession. So it's like the body is really just a inanimate object to them because they're spectrally controlling it like a puppet. So there is nothing that can really hold them back from, and so sometimes I think they forget that because they put like some limitations to move it along. They show you how extremely powerful these things are and limitless, but then dial it back. It's kind of like, you know, how Superman is super ridiculous. So at some point, it's like you've got to jump the shark with how to actually kind of push the story along because otherwise it's just too much. Um, and it progresses along as you would think, elimination, grueling terror. There's some creative gore that I do think was good. Um, Pacing, good. Um, but then it gets kind of to this one point where we're having another logic transition issue, um, where there's the escapee, and of course this is always get to the end. It's the same format, last survivor kind of getting away, but they're on foot, and it's like you remember that they're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, no neighbors, just boonies. And then somehow we make it back to a construction site. Okay, well, awkward. Oh, on top of that, the plot centered around this god kill weapon. Um, and that kind of turns into a joke. Like, really? I saw the little Easter egg that was in there that kind of pushes the whole Kandarian dagger, but it didn't really sit. I don't think that one really hits. It's weird. Or the bag of random daggers, like like just grab one and try it. Kind of like just process of elimination. Just plug it in, see what happens. Fuck it. That's kind of weird. But again, that's another one of those where I just don't think that necessarily makes sense for me. So it's kind of a frustration point because it has me just sitting there like, the fuck. Um, then of course you have the closing battle. That's that hero's journey of climbing and getting to that final big bad and taking care of business. But the the way to take care of the business. And that was interesting. And I actually was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. I would totally grab that if I were that person's build, and that would be my weapon of choice. And I looked it up when I got home because that just didn't really make sense to me. But I guess um feats of strength while in a state of, you kind of have like your limitations kind of go off. So I mean, I guess it's plausible, fucking unlikely, but I guess it's plausible, whatever. Um, you still have a nice closing moment with the Grahams and dude, she was money. I can't tell you how much I liked her character and the actress that pulled it off. That was good. And then there's an actual clawback. There is a callback to the first film at the very after credits, and I've only seen Rise one time, so I'm not exactly sure how that, because I'm just not sure how that works. I didn't like the film enough to watch it again. So I mean, I can't from memory. I don't know what the fuck happened. But I don't think that really made sense because there was like a spectral transition there of reality bend. So I don't know how that one really works. But whatever. There'll be a third one. I mean, they definitely made it to where this is a continuation. So I guess we're gonna get a at least a trifecta. But not exactly sure how to figure out those plot points. But you know, whatever. They'll come up with something. Um, I did like the film better than Rise. Like I could actually possibly watch this one more time, and that's just to kind of see it in a, you know, better setting. Um, maybe in high definition and Dolby. So it's not to say that the film was complete loss for me. Um, I don't know, man. I wish the attention to details were just a little tighter because this is one of my very favorite franchises and it just it's in a different direction. Um there is no slapstick. There is no continuing character as of right now besides, you know, the ending. So not sure exactly where the continuity is going to come from, but it's like going to be a different set. There was some slight continuity, but this introduction of this circle of wise men, thought that was kind of interesting. Somewhat plausible. Um, with that, the research. At first, I was thinking about it when I got home, or really just on my drive home, that I was like, well, if the one deal was in LA and they found the book and lit this match and started the fire, how all of a sudden is this book transported? But there was no book, so it had to have been just a notebook. So like that was a detail at first I was thinking, but no, they didn't have the book. That was like his private research area. I guess the book was stashed in the first film. Uh, so wherever that is, I'm sure that there's going to have to be some way to go back and kind of link Dagger and book, and that'll probably be how that has to work. Um, I mean, at least that makes sense to me, I guess. But anyways, wasn't terrible, wasn't great. Um, better than Rise. Uh, let's see where it goes. Peace.